So I like.
Perfectly excellent.
That was the thing. Yeah.
That was the thing.
Yeah. That was really sad news. So I don't, I don't want to call him Lewis. What his real name is
Robert Carradine or
Carradine.
Carradine. I'm not actually sure how it's pronounced.
Yes. And I know he did more than Revenge of the Nerds and Nerds 2 and Nerds 3 and possibly Nerds 4.
I think there was even a TV show at some point.
No. But yeah, sadly passed away. Young guy too. Was only in his like 70s, I think, like early
71.
70s.
71.
Yeah. It was really, really sad to hear. And it's crazy because just a day or two ago, I was talking about that movie with someone. They were talking about the DVD, and I was complaining that I still have my angst about those weird edits they made to the DVD. And one in particular was his line, right? When he comes in the gym and says, "Gentlemen, I think I found a house." And they cut it to just, "I think I found a house." And I'm like, why? Yeah, but sad news. Did you know him from anything else besides Revenge of the Nerds?
No, but and to be fair, I feel like I kind of don't need to. Like that was such a defining role and thing and movie, and has aged very problematically for sure. But there are a lot of things about that movie that I find very enjoyable. It is endlessly quotable. He's great in it, and to this day, the reason I wear these glasses is because of that. Like when I got these kind of glasses for the first time, it was because I wanted to get glasses like Lewis from Revenge of the Nerds. So
you're like, get me the nerdiest glasses there are.
Right? Yep, and I stuck with them all these years.
Yeah. Well, cheers.
So, good stuff. Anyway, but we didn't properly say hello and introduce the show or anything like that. We just
all right. Well, hello. Hello, party people. Welcome to episode 37 of Perfectly Excellent. As it's that's a lot of episodes.
That's a lot of episodes.
Yeah, and today's going to be a doozy, but we'll get into that in a minute. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay. I feel like I say this almost every time, but it's been a rough week already, and it's only Tuesday. So I feel like there's always too much going on, and I have very much felt like I just don't have time to do anything. Both stuff that needs to be done, and then just stuff like I want to do. Like I've been having a really hard time carving out time for myself to do some of the things that I want to do. So I end up with like spare moments of time here and there, which I inevitably spend flicking through eBay and perhaps buying things I maybe shouldn't buy.
Yeah, no, I feel that. Like
that's a hobby, right?
It is a hobby, shopping, browsing. You're a browser on your father's side, I think.
Retail therapy.
Yeah. I try to stay away from my phone. I try not to doom scroll, but sometimes that's really all I can muster is like scrolling through something, looking on eBay or looking on Reddit. But I do have some good news that I think it's only another like 2 or 3 weeks we can go back to our regularly scheduled time on Thursdays, which hopefully will help with the week because Tuesdays are weird. They're a little tough.
Especially trying to put luckily this was not a slide heavy episode, but having only that little chunk of time to put everything together gets a little stressful. I like having a broader runway for that.
No, I totally get it. So that's something to look forward to in the not too distant future.
Next Sunday, AD.
Yeah. Should we do the thing? You want to dive right in?
Yeah, let's exchange some inventions.
Yes.
Perfectly excellent.
Oh, I'm up first. Look at me. I'm huge.
You're huge.
I am huge.
What do you got?
I was going to do this thing, but then I had to get the thing into the box. And then if I got it in the box, I couldn't really show you what it is because in order to show you what it is, I had to take it out of the box and put it together. So I don't think I'm going to do that thing. It's like a lot of work, right? It's a lot of like in the box, out of the box stuff. So I'm going to do something
missing some key context in what you're describing.
All right. We'll do it. Here, I'll show you. It's nothing in the box, right? We'll do it live. So I was recently at American Dream and I stopped into the Bandai Namco store, and they finally had in stock the Effect Concrete Crash. So these are just some broken pillars you can get. Oh, look, I don't have to assemble it. There you go. You can just look at the pictures. So it's just, yeah, it's like a concrete column that you can rearrange in a couple different setups for your action figures. So if they were missing a column in their lives and they felt like they just needed that to be whole, well, now they are whole. And it's really cool the way they did it. Lots of different attachments you can add to it. Granted, you could 3D print something like this, but this one just works very, very well. It's got all the pieces, came in a box, and now I have it. So that'll be good for a lot of photography.
Well, I was just thinking, like you said you got that at American Dream, which for those outside of New Jersey, that's the American Dream
right.
Mall. The American Dream is a mall.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was thinking was, I feel like you could have probably found something pretty similar to that in the parking lot of the mall. If you
there is some rebar there for the taking. It's a little heavier, and the problem with real life rebar, it doesn't scale to 112.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's the challenge. Where this does look much better. Yes, there is definitely some rebar, some with blood on it. No, that is a lie. I'm kidding. Let's see. There we go. And look, now I have a little broken pillar.
Never studied.
Never studied. Moving on. Wait, I'll show you the other one's a small one. My plan B. So one of my favorite Mega Man series is Mega Man Battle Network, where it was kind of like the Mega Man take on Pokemon, where you would collect these little battle chips in the game, and the battle chips would let you do certain moves. They'd let you have like a Mega Blaster, a sword, all different things like that. So you would always go hunting for rare and look for like high-powered versions and things like that. Really, really great game. I think there's 6 in the series in total. There's an awesome collection out now on Switch, which has, I think it has all of them. Great, great stuff. I love it. But in real life, they actually made the battle chips. So I don't exactly know what you do with these. There's some kind of device that way back when you would be able to plug these into and do something. But I just saw an eBay listing where somebody had a bunch of them up for cheap, and I thought they were just neat to pick up. And they are. They're a little like, they're not so clean. They could use a little cleaning. But yeah, these are the battle chips that Mega Man would use in the game to battle on the internet.
So those are actual,
it was very funny.
Those are actual things that interact with the game, or those are just real world representations of things within the game?
I think there its own kind of real world way to use these. I don't think you could actually use these in the game. You would just find them in the game. It was a Game Boy Advance game, and I think one was on the DS. But yeah, they made little devices in the real world to plug these in. I don't know what those devices actually did. So, but it's neat. These are like fidget for me on my desk, just playing with my chips.
Very nice. Very nice indeed.
Good stuff. What do you got for us today?
All right. Well, mine is sort of related to our theme, which our theme is about sports today. So yes. I woke up on Saturday morning and I discovered that this past Saturday morning was skate shop day. Did you know that it was skate shop day?
I have never heard of this, but go on.
I had never heard of this either. Now, as someone who does not skate, one might wonder, how does Tim know that it's skate shop day on Saturday?
Was there some kind of like rocket from the crypt skate deck or something that went up today?
I already have one of those, but I bought that in that's from like the 90s. But the reason why I became aware that it was skate shop day was because on Instagram, Ruts Hut started making posts about it being a skate shop day. So what I found out was there is a skate shop in Nutley, New Jersey called Underground Skate Shop, and they were doing a collaboration with Ruts Hut. And at 10 o'clock in the morning, they were going to put some exclusive Ruts Hut merchandise on sale. Now, again, for those not from New Jersey, Ruts Hut is my favorite hot dog place. Best hot dog in the entire world, often ranked as the #1 hot dog in America, if you go Googling it on some of those ranking food sort of websites. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to just go to Nutley this morning, and I am going to go and I'm going to try to get the collaboration.
But skateboarding.
It is skateboarding.
I can't wait to see this.
So, what we got is we got a very nice new Ruts Hut shirt, Rippers and Relish. Very good. That's their iconic sign from the top of their building. I believe that's Route 21 in the background.
Is that
That's good.
Is that a G in the hut?
Yes, for underground.
G in the hut. Okay.
Because it's
you never know.
Well, apologies. There's a really bad lag going on right now, so sorry to everybody.
Okay.
But yeah, they did a shirt, and I went to go get the shirt, so that was cool. And I was there. I'm looking around. And I'm like, huh.
That is pretty funny.
They had two skate decks. They had one that just had the same picture as that shirt. And then they had this one, which is an illustration of like the front door of the dining portion of Ruts Hut. And also on it are little owls. And I love owls. So I'm looking at this thing and I'm just like, how much is the skate deck? How much do you think the skate deck was?
I don't know. Typically, like when I see like cool things like this, they're 65 to 70 bucks.
I expected this would probably be like $85 to $130. It's $55. You know, they only had like maybe like 30 of them or so. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm getting it. And you know where it's going to go? It's going to hang on the wall right there. I have this perfect little spot for it. I'm going to hang up my little Ruts Hut skateboard, even though I do not skate. This actually makes the third skateboard that I have, because I have a Rocket from the Crypt skateboard, I have a Hot Snake skateboard, and now I have a Ruts Hut skateboard.
Yeah, I think they do look good on the wall. They're nice pieces of art. What's on the top of it? Anything? Ah, that's great. That is I did not see this one coming. This is wild that they did a Ruts Hut skateboard collaboration. Happy belated skate day. We'll come back to that later because I didn't know that was a thing. But
nor did I. They sold out of all of it too. And it was really funny because I've been to a bunch of record store days, and when you go to record store day, you line up outside of the store like many hours before advance. Like it's just go up. So I roll up there at 9:50. I'm just rolling the dice. I'm not standing in line forever for one of these things. And there's like 10 people there, you know, so not bad. I'm like, all right, okay. I can do 10 people. So I'm standing there for a little bit, and then someone else rolls up, and they're like, oh man, I didn't expect there to be a line like this. I'm like, all right, there's like 10 people here, but that's okay. And then they start letting people in the store, just like a few at a time. It's not like a huge store, but it's not like a tiny little store. And then they get to me and the guy in front of me, and they let the guy in front of me in, and I will go to walk in with him, and he goes, "Oh, hey." I'm just cold, you know, just let me come in. I'll just stand in the back, whatever. He goes, "Okay, no problem." He goes, "Man, there's so many people here." I'm like, "There's like 8 people here." So I thought that was funny. These are people who have obviously never been to Record Store Day and the pandemonium that happens there. But it was
what
very
were these
amusing.
people there for? Were they there for Ruts Hut stuff, or
yes,
for other
every
things?
single one of them was there for the Ruts Hut drop.
Okay, I didn't know if they're like Tony Hawk had like a deck, or I don't know how big Skate Day is, if there's like Record Store Day.
I had never heard of it previously, and yeah, no clue. But everyone who was there to get the Ruts Hut thing. And if there were other things that were not specifically created by that skate shop, I don't know what they are. So it's possible.
I wonder if Ruts Hut Skate Day is popular outside of New Jersey.
Probably not so much. But then apparently they did some sort of thing over at Ruts Hut later on that night where they had like a stand-up comedy there, and like the guys from the skate shop were all there. I didn't really know what was going on. I didn't go to any of that, and I don't know that I would have necessarily, but maybe. I don't know. But I got my Ruts Hut skateboard, so I'm psyched.
So not only do you have a invention exchange, I think you have a do something as well. You did something.
I did something. I was not planning on going out that morning, and I just up and went out with no plans whatsoever. Look at me go.
Because out of the two of us going to skate day, I would have, it's, bizarre that it was you and not me. But I guess that's a perfect segue to talk about our sports.
We're going to talk about what?
So we're going to talk about sports. This was a good one.
Perfectly
I don't know where
excellent.
That was a good one. The pin there. That was a good one. The little bowling ball play. Yeah. Before we get to tell me, like, how did you come up with this? Because over the course of our friendship, I don't know that a sports conversation has ever really happened.
I mostly just was thinking of like, what are some odd things that we could talk about? What are some topics that we haven't covered yet? Because at 37 episodes, we've actually talked about quite a few things.
We have covered some things.
And one of the things that I really did not want to keep doing is like rushing into shows last minute without any sort of plan. So I started to just sort of make little lists of things that I wanted us to maybe talk about. And I was just sort of thinking, it'd kind of be funny if you and I were going to talk about sports for a little bit, because here's something for all the folks out there. Neither one of us really care about sports at all. As far as, adult males go, you're probably going to be hard pressed to find two people who care less about sports than the two of us do.
Yes. And I've been caught in a lot of those situations. You probably have too, where someone's like, "Oh, last night, can you believe it? That game?" And I'm like, "Woof, yeah, he did the thing." Right. And then they did the thing. I mean, yeah. I've mastered almost the art of like saying enough vague things to be part of a sporting conversation. But yeah, I don't know anything about, I don't follow football, baseball, hockey, basketball, nada. So it's the bizarro land that we are in when it comes to males our age and our demographic.
Yeah. But I thought it would be interesting because I know that both of us do have some history with sports because, over our 30-year friendship, it has come up occasionally, often in jest, often in like, oh, can you, like, that was weird that I used to do this thing. So I just thought it would be kind of interesting to kind of chat about it a little bit. I just want to say right away, because you went immediately here when I first brought up this topic, we are excluding professional wrestling from this conversation. Very easy to do an entire show about pro wrestling. We could probably have my buddy Scott come on for that one. So I think that would be a lot of fun actually to do one of those at some point. So we're not going to qualify professional wrestling as a sport. We're going to talk about all the other stuff because I've been watching pro wrestling my whole life pretty much.
So it's a sport in its own league.
It's a sport that I have enough to talk about that it can carry its own episode, whereas I don't think hockey could carry its own episode of this show.
Certainly not from us. So where to begin?
Yeah, I kind of thought that we should let's just touch on like the big four like US sports. Apologies to soccer, football, everywhere else in the country. I don't really have a whole lot to say about that because that really wasn't a big deal when we were kids, aside from playing it in school. But I kind of wanted to start with the four big professional sports and what our familiarity is with them, what our history is with them, and kind of just where we stand on it now. And I figured a good place to start might be with baseball because it's the national pastime. So yes. I wanted to start with you. What are your experiences with professional baseball? Not playing it yourself, but as far as professional baseball, how does that enter your life when you were younger, today, whatever?
Professional baseball might be the only sport I think I know all the rules. Like I understand how to play it. Like if asked to play baseball, not that I would be good at it, I could go out there and I would know what to do or what you're supposed to do at least. As far as gosh, I must have been to a baseball game. It just seems like it's something I've had to have done. I know I've been to like minor league games. There's a stadium at where is it? Montclair University has a stadium. So I've been there for like some events, like a Cub Scout event we went. But yeah, I played Little League as a kid. There's pictures of it. I don't remember it. So there was proof that I was there. It was probably T-ball. Yeah,
Did you watch it on TV? Like, did you watch it with like your parents or anything?
No, not that I remember. And it's crazy because in my house, my dad is a huge sports fan, loves baseball, loves football. Those are the big two, but he'll pretty much watch any, if there's an event where people are sporting, he'll be there.
So did you ever like have like a favorite team or anything like that?
Yes, but for no logical reason, the Mets. Like probably because everybody liked the Yankees, so I just had to be like, okay, well, I'll like the Mets then. Again, in the tri-state area, right? Everybody liked the Yankees, but yeah, I've like so little to say about this, aside from going to a game. Like, this will be a repeating theme for me for all of this, but I will leave the caveat that I could go to anything and be into it. Like if you took me to a baseball game, I would love it. I would have a good time. I would cheer for somebody, the home team. I think you're supposed to root for the home team as it goes.
Root for them.
Yeah.
In fact.
But watching it on TV, it's like, just to me, it's extremely boring and I have absolutely zero interest in it at all. But how about you, Slugger?
Yeah,
what's your baseball take?
It's kind of like I wanted to start with baseball simply because I hate it. I have less interest in baseball than maybe almost anything in the entire world. I think it's very, very boring. I didn't like it when I was a kid. If it was on TV, I'm like, it's just a bunch of people standing around in the park. It's just so boring.
So it's because there's not enough running, like not enough people running at the same time.
There's not enough anything happening. It's just dudes standing around. But I never really liked it. I've never been to a live game, so I have been told that it's much more fun if you go to a live game.
There's more running at live games. Yeah, it doesn't translate onto TV, but
yeah, so I don't like baseball. I mean, I had a favorite team. I liked the Cleveland Indians, but that's mostly because of the movie Major League, not really necessarily.
I love it. Like that's great. I feel like we should have brought like someone to kind of like someone who knew sports into this conversation to like to direct us and tell us things we don't know. But I'm surprised. Okay, so baseball just super, super boring.
Yeah, I don't really like it. And then like, let's just stick with another one of the big four sports, hockey. That's another one. Like, I don't really like or understand hockey, even though there's a lot more movement in it than baseball. So I suppose it's more exciting and they fight occasionally. And I guess that's good.
Yeah,
but
so weird.
It's just another one of those sports that like trying to watch it on TV, I was just never really interested in it. By default, I tend to just pick a favorite team for every sport. That way, if someone asks, I can just answer it. So again, no, I always my favorite hockey team was always the Edmonton Oilers, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. But that was mostly because that was the team I liked playing in Blades of Steel.
Oh, again, I think these are very valid reasons. I've been to a lot of hockey games. My dad used to get tickets to events at I think at the time it was the Continental Arena. I think now it is just a parking lot. I don't know that it's anything anymore.
The Brendan Byrne Arena, the Meadowlands.
The Meadowlands, yes. Again, a staple of Secaucus, New Jersey. But my dad used to get tickets to events.
Whoa.
This is going to things.
Whoa. It's in East Rutherford.
Oh, is it in East Rutherford? Sorry,
it's not in Secaucus.
All right. Yeah, I felt like that whole swamp is just kind of Secaucus, but possibly not.
But go on.
Yes. So I've been to many hockey games, and it's again, like I said, like I lose my voice at medieval times. So I'm good at like if there's a sporting event and I'm there, I could definitely cheer for somebody. So hockey was fun because it's fast, it's moving, people are doing things, and then yes, I don't understand how you can beat each other up in hockey, and it seems like encouraged. I don't know that any of their sports quite really allow that so much, but that amuses me to no end.
Yeah, but those are the two sports that I certainly have the least to say about. But the one I probably have the most to say about would be football. But I'd be curious to have you talk a little bit about your experiences with football at first.
I have been to many a football game. My dad, again, is a huge Jets fan. And the only thing I really know about the Jets is they suck. And they've sucked forever. It's for them knowing that they suck. And he roots for them so passionately that one time we had to patch the wall where he threw the remote at it. because of how well they play. But yeah, I know we've gone to some football games. There was like a 5-minute period where I kind of figured out how football worked and I was able to follow it and understand it. But I feel like it's just like hockey, they play, basketball, they play, baseball, they play. Football is like they play, they stop, then they walk around, they talk for, 5 minutes, then they play again. I think what it is, we watch the Super Bowl. That's become a thing in our house. Not because I want to, but because my 8-year-old daughter likes to watch the Super Bowl and she gets very excited and decorates for it each year. So
very good.
And it's fun. Like, something like that, that's an event I can get into, but I can't imagine watching that like week to week. But I remember one day it came out that you were once a football fan, a football.
Well, but first, before we move on to me, does that mean the Jets are your favorite football team?
The Jets are my favorite football team. I was born into it. I don't have a choice.
Okay. So this brings up something before I talk a little about football. Something I've never understood about sports.
Okay.
And that is...
Allow me to solve this for you right now, since I'm
Please.
the authority here. Yeah.
Why is it that for most people, their favorite team is the one they live closest to? Why does that make it your favorite team because of a proximity to them? I've never understood that.
Is it a root for the home team? Like, I guess if you want to go to the games, it's going to be the local team playing. Is it not?
And if you're watching on TV, that's the team you see the most. But I hate all of the local teams. Like when I don't really care anymore because like I don't really follow sports at all. But when I was a kid, I hated all of the local teams, like passionately. I hated the Jets less than the Giants because the Jets, they didn't ever win, so they weren't really a problem.
they were not even in it. That's great.
but I hated the Giants because my favorite football team when I was a kid was the Rams. And the reason that the Rams were my favorite football team was because their uniforms were yellow, and yellow is my favorite color. So that's why I picked them as my favorite team.
Again, solid reason. I like green. Green is my favorite color, so I guess I would have defaulted to the Giants. I know the Jets are green. That's one thing I do know.
So yeah, I watched a lot of football when I was a kid. So from like 1980s. Oof. And was the first Super Bowl I remember was the 1985 one that the Chicago Bears won. That was the first Super Bowl I remember.
So how did you end up watching it though? Was it like someone in your family was watching it, or this is just something you took an interest on your own?
We used to go to my grandparents' house to watch the Super Bowl sometimes.
Okay.
My grandfather didn't really like football past the point that he liked gambling on football.
Oh, okay. Those two go hand in hand.
So that was a thing because like one of the restaurants they used to go to, they used to have like football pools where like if certain teams got certain scores, you won. Like if like you got 15 and the other, I've never understood that whole thing of it. But that's actually one of the things is the Rams won him like $1,500 when I was like a really little kid. So that and the yellow, because like I was watching them because he told me to go see what the score is for the Rams if they get 15 points or not. So I remember watching that, and like he got really happy when they won, and they were yellow. So that's kind of when they became my favorite team.
It sounds like a money in yellow. It's like a great memory, core memory right there.
But I remember the Chicago Bears winning the Super Bowl in 1985. I remember the Super Bowl shuffle like very vividly. That was all over the place.
Okay, yeah.
I actually just watched a documentary about it not that long ago, just because I'm kind of fascinated that how that became a thing. But for
I don't know what that is. Like, what is the Super Bowl shuffle?
It's the song, the Super Bowl shuffle that the Chicago Bears sang that year. We're not here to start no trouble. We're just here to do the Super Bowl shuffle. How could you not know what that is?
I have no idea what that is. What year was this?
1985. Like, I'm floored that you could not possibly know what that is. Like, you seriously do not know the Super Bowl shuffle?
I have no idea what you're talking about. I mean, maybe I've heard it, but it's definitely not bringing back a memory. I'll have to look that up.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's bizarre. But anyway, so
my disinterest in sports runs deep. Like, it's a lifetime of disinterest. It's not something I picked up late in life.
So I watched football pretty regularly from like 1985 to probably about like 1990, 1991 or so. And for a few years in the middle there, I watched it religiously. Like I watched all 3 games that were on TV. There was usually a Sunday afternoon game, a late afternoon game, and then like a night game, especially like in like the late 80s, like the night games started happening. I would watch all 3 of those games. I would get the sports section out of the newspaper at my dad's house and read the football scores and look at who the where the teams were doing. Hopefully the Rams were good. My favorite player was Eric Dickerson. He was the running back for the Rams. He was awesome until he left for the Colts, and then Jim Everett became my favorite player, who was the quarterback for the Rams.
You sound like a sport person, like throwing names in, talking about them and all that.
One of the greatest days in my entire life in grammar school, anyway, was in the 1989 playoffs. The Rams were going against the Giants in the playoffs, and the game went into overtime. And the Rams quarterback, Jim Everett, threw the touchdown pass to Flipper Anderson, who caught the ball, ran into the end zone, and then ran through the end zone and out of the arena. He just left.
He went right down the ramp and out the door.
Yeah. So, and then that was it. The game was over. The Rams won. They kicked the Giants out of the playoffs. And like that next day of school, I could not have been a happier person because like my school was just full of Giants fans because, we're in New Jersey. So yeah, I watched it like crazy. But I just started to lose interest in it kind of when I hit high school. The Rams, like after 89 was pretty much the peak of the Rams for me. Like they really were not good again until after I stopped watching football. So between that and just between getting into high school, doing different things, not always having Sundays where I'm just sitting at home watching TV all day long, going out with friends and things like that, and getting more into music, actually did a whole lot of that. It's funny. There's this odd parallel that like 1989 was like the last year that the Rams were good and that I was like super, super passionate about football. 1990 is when Mama Said Knock You Out by LL Cool J came out. And like the paradigm shift of what I was interested in was gigantic. I just went all in on music from there, and I just lost interest in football and all sports in general. So
tanked the Rams. Without you there, they just kind of
But if you want to talk about football from 1985 to like 1991, I can hold an extremely competent conversation about that chunk of time. All of the rules that were active at that point in time, I understand all of those rules. I still know how football works for the most part. Although, like you, I do watch the Super Bowl every year, and there's always something odd going on that I don't really like. I don't understand how overtime works anymore because it used to just be the first person who scores in overtime wins. And now there's all sorts of weird rules that I absolutely do not get. The kickoffs are different. I don't really understand what's going on there. But in general, I still very much understand football. I just don't care about it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, again, you have way more knowledge than I do. So, but I can see. So it was the 1990, and then it all just something else caught your attention.
You can blame LL Cool J for so many things in my life.
I will. Let's hold him accountable.
Yeah. So the last of the big four is basketball. And for me, basketball is one of those things where, I mean, it was so popular when we were like of that like early teen years, like when like the Michael Jordan stuff started happening. Like it was all over the place. And it was one of those things that in some ways I kind of tried to like will myself to like, just because like everyone was talking about it. And it was another thing that was on TV. It was on a lot. It was on when there wasn't football on. But I just never really got all that into it, other than I really, really liked David Robinson from the San Antonio Spurs because he had funny shoe commercials.
Wow. Okay.
He did these Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood commercials that were kind of like knocking off, Mr. Rogers. And I thought those were hysterical. So by default, he became my favorite player and the Spurs became my favorite team. But it was mostly just I really liked the shoe commercials. I never was able to kind of get over the hump and understand basketball as much as I kind of wish I did, because, again, it was just very big when we were younger.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really thinking like I've just had my head in the sand to all of this. Like as a kid, definitely. I didn't watch baseball, didn't watch basketball, didn't watch football. As an adult, I've been to many basketball games again because of free tickets, and those were always fun times. But yeah, I couldn't tell you. Not only can I not tell you my favorite team, I don't know that I can name more than two basketball teams, like the Knicks and the Nets, which I hope those are both still basketball teams.
They are, but I believe the Nets are in Brooklyn now.
Secaucus?
Yeah, the stadium's in Brooklyn. Yeah, because I went to their stadium to see wrestling once in Brooklyn. So yes, the Nets are in Brooklyn now.
Mm-hmm.
So the funny thing is, okay, the big four: baseball, hockey, football, basketball. So you've gone to all of the four of those things live, correct?
Yes, correct.
The only one of those that I have ever been to live is basketball.
Okay.
I've never been to a baseball game. I've never been to a hockey game. And like we never went to go, like my parents didn't like football. You know, my mom and my stepdad didn't like football. My dad didn't like football. Football tickets were expensive. And in New Jersey, they're actually kind of hard to get because like the season ticket holders kind of just squat on those things forever. So I never got to go to a football game. I went to a basketball game in, I don't know, maybe like 2005 or something like that. Again, free tickets because of where I was working at the time. Me and one of my coworkers, we sat right behind one of the baskets, like on the floor. Like they gave us these things to like wag in the air so that when like the opposing team was trying to shoot the ball, it would confuse them. And that was a blast. Like I had a ton of fun at that basketball game, but I couldn't tell you anything about what was happening there other than the Knicks were playing some other team that I forgot.
Yeah, see, there's no other names. There's just no other names for these teams. Yeah, and you know, you talked about a few. I guess it was more than a few years ago now, but I think I went to a Yankees game. I got free tickets to that for where I was working. Like I went with some coworkers. So I've probably been to more of these things than I recall or remember. But I'm there for the food, like and the spectacle. I don't really know what else is going on.
Yeah, but I just think it's amusing that again, I was into sports when I was young, but like I had no encouragement for it at all. And that's one of those things that's kind of a recurring theme in my life is like I tend to get like very passionately interested in things that no one else cares about, and I never have anyone encouraging me to do it at all. And you know, I know we're not going to talk about wrestling, but pro wrestling is one of those things. I don't know, like until I became an adult, I didn't know anyone who liked wrestling. No one in my family liked wrestling. None of my friends when I was a kid ever liked wrestling, but I just somehow fell into watching pro wrestling. And it's just like, that's a recurring theme. That happens all the time with me.
Yeah. Where I had too much support on sports. So I shunned it all.
But did you play sports ever?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I know you said Little League, and we'll talk about that in a second, but I was kind of curious, like most people, when they start playing sports, they tend to just play with the other kids in like the neighborhood. Like when you were like a young kid, were you playing sports with other neighborhood people?
You know, I know we all got together. I know, like, does kickball qualify? Because we probably played kickball and like wall ball and things like that. But I don't remember coming together, and I certainly never played football. We see kids like getting together and playing football or basketball. I don't remember ever getting together. I don't think I owned a football. I did not own a basketball. I don't know that I ever did like the street league of any of this stuff.
When you played kickball, did you just play in like someone's yard, or did you go to like a park with like a ball field, or?
Just play right in the street, right? Like game on, game off, car, you know, like, so it's, you just kicked it. You ran to like the front steps of that person's house was first base, and you kind of just figured the rest out. So no, minimal effort, I guess I should say.
Did anything traumatic ever happen while playing kickball? Do you have any good, like,
where are we going with? No, like traumatic stories from playing games. Nothing really. Like, and again, these are so old memories. Like I think this stuff kind of like faded pretty quick, and at least in my neighborhood. You know, once we got bikes, it was all about just riding bikes. I don't remember playing sports. Like the bikes were it. Like we had like a dirt jump, so that we would just ride and jump our bikes. And sadly, no organized bike jumping. This was just
random.
Random. Why, do you have traumatic stories from playing sports in the yard?
Probably. like I happened to live my neighborhood. There was like 7 kids all in my grade that all lived in like on like the same like 2 block like development that I lived on. So we played sports all the time. We played football all the time. We played basketball all the time. I had a basketball hoop in my driveway. That way we could play it at my house sometimes. I was not good at, but despite being tall, I was very bad at basketball.
That's the myth, right? Like everyone
That
assumes, oh, you must play basketball.
I'm very, very bad at basketball. That baseball is the one I was always the worst at, not good at basketball. But we played football constantly. And when I was a kid, I loved playing football. I was not a big kid. I was a small kid, but we played tackle football in our yards all the time. And the place we played it most often is across the street from me. There was a hill, and on top of the hill was a cemetery. The tombstones and everything were still really far away. It was a cemetery in progress. There hadn't been enough deaths.
They were room to grow.
So there was just this big, wide open stretch of grass, like right up that hill. And we used to go up there and play tackle football all the time. And the out of bounds on one side was the hill. So you would get pushed off the hill and go roll. And it wasn't like this nice hill. It was a hill with like trees and bushes. And so basically you just get like thrown into the shrubbery. And that's how you ended up out of bounds.
It's a good thing there was a cemetery nearby because it probably could come in useful.
And it's wild to me because like my mom was a very overbearing mom, but for whatever reason did not seem to have any problem with me playing tackle football with no equipment with all of the other kids in my neighborhood who were all significantly bigger than I was.
Yeah. It's it's an organized sport. It's not America's pastime because that's baseball, I think you said. Yeah. So I don't know what football is. It's like America's something other.
I don't know, but we used to beat the crap out of each other in there. And like if it rained, even better. That's even more fun to play. If it snowed, like the first snow, like you're immediately playing football in the snow because you're sliding, you're falling. It was a blast. And like when we got bikes, it didn't change anything. That just meant it was easier to get to the other location to play your sports.
Yeah, but
great. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say I like nothing like that. Tag and manhunt. That's what we played. Mostly.
We played manhunt too. But you played organized sports like before. I guess I don't know. Little League is not technically before school. I guess that's in parallel to school. I don't really understand Little League.
And I would use air quotes when you say play because the only reason I know I did this is because there's pictures. So I played Little League. I couldn't have played it long because again, there's pictures. And I apparently played soccer because I have like a memory of being on the team for soccer, but I don't like. I must have been so young. I think my parents were trying to help me find a sport or probably do something kind of a thing. But yeah, that did not last long for me at all. I think my older brother lasted longer with sports, maybe my younger brother, but for me, it didn't take. What can I say?
Yeah, I never played any organized sports in grammar school. I didn't play my first organized sport until my junior year of high school, and then I joined a sports team for my high school, and that's the only thing I've ever played. And that was when I joined my high school bowling team.
Oh, there you go.
So nice. Me and my friends bowled all the time. And three of my closest friends, they were all on the bowling team. And I wasn't good, but I was okay. And the standards were really low. Like they were really low to get on the bowling. There was not a whole line of people waiting to get on the bowling team. So my junior year, I decided just so I could go hang out with my friends more, I decided to join the bowling team. And the way that the bowling team is broken down is there are 5 people who bowl the varsity game. Okay. There are 5 people who bowl the JV game. And then everybody else bowls what's called, they're the substitutes, the subs. But we all called it the scrubs. So everybody else bowls on the scrubs. Okay. So what the coach does is he goes from lane to lane and is like, okay, this person on JV is bowling really good. This person on varsity, not so much. I'm going to swap those out. hey, this person on Scrubs is bowling really good. I'm going to move them up to JV because they're working.
So it was fluid. You can move around.
Yeah. So I got good enough. I started off just on Scrubs all the time, and I got good enough where I was pretty consistently on the JV lane. I never got to bowl on the varsity because I wasn't really consistent enough for that. So the coach, Mr. Kish, would never put me up on the varsity side of things. But I bowled JV, and I got to the point where I was pretty okay. I probably had like a 145 average, which isn't great, but it's better than someone just off the street. The highest score I've ever bowled, I've bowled a 198 twice. I've never gotten past 100 or 200 rather. But I loved bowling, and we would bowl like outside of, like, we would just do that with friends hanging out. Once we got cars, bowling became like the thing that we did all the time. Bowling and going to movies was pretty much all we ever did when I was in high school.
Yeah. I mean, not in high school, but I have bowling memories when we would go after the radio station. That was some wild times.
Yeah. When I was in college, like after we did it was after Todd and my show usually, right? Like Todd and me would have the show, and then we would all go over to the bowling alley afterwards. Like including like listeners would show up. That's where we had people like the Regulator.
I've told that story how like we would show up and we would have like one side of the entire like bowling alley, just all of these lanes. Those were good times. And I did enjoy bowling growing up. I didn't do it like you as a team, but I did it because my dad was in a bowling league. And again, sports were his thing. And he was I don't know what his average is, but he used to go bowling like once a week with the guys, and we would go as a family every now and then. But never professionally, only recreationally.
Yeah, I love bowling. I haven't been bowling in a really, really long time. The last time I bowled was before the pandemic, because during the pandemic, that's when my back started getting really bad. So I'm actually a little nervous to go try to do it again because I'm worried that I'll hurt myself. But
you can get the thing where you just roll it down the ramp.
Everyone always says that, but that's so offensive to me. Like that's
that was really offensive.
It's so upsetting. But I'm sure I will try it again at some point. But I haven't really gotten the nerve to see if my back will hold up. And after the amount of snow I had to move yesterday, I'm absolutely not ready to bowl today. That is for sure. Cool. But yeah, that's the only like organized sport that I ever played. But you had brought up something else. You had brought up bikes before. And I feel like you're going to have a lot more to talk about than I am with bikes. So I will just say very quickly, I only really ever got a bike to just drive around the neighborhood and just go to other places. It was always for me just a means of transportation. It was not a sport. I didn't know how to do any tricks. I had a Ross Piranha. That was the bike that I had. It was silver, and it had these blue and white checkered foam patty things on it.
Okay.
At one point, I was trying to, I guess, have a better bike, so I put one of those things on that made it so you could turn the head, the handlebars,
like gyro or whatever it was.
Yeah. So I put one of those on it, but I don't know why. I didn't really do anything. But I basically just rode bikes just to ride bikes, and then my brother Justin, for whatever reason, just decided to sell my bike one day. So one day he just sold my bike and pocketed the money, and like I no longer had a bike, which was fine because once I had a car, I really never touched the bike again. But he just,
interesting scenario.
He took it upon himself to just sell my bike, and no bike.
You just discovered one day it was gone?
Yeah, I was like, "Where's my bike?" He goes, "Oh, I sold it." Like, why did you sell my bike?
Oh, that is hilarious. Yeah, I mean,
having met my brother, I feel like you have no problem believing that to be a true story.
Oh no, I didn't doubt it for a second. Like, checks out. But yeah, bikes changed everything, and like, I mean, it just kind of opened up where we were able to go, and then it wasn't a mode of transportation; it became everything. Like, there was a public lake in Wayne where I grew up. It was called Tom's Lake, and there was like this dirt parking lot behind it that had the jump, and the jump was just a big mound of dirt. But that was what we do every day. Hey, you want to go to the jump? You want to go to the jump? And again, it's one of those things where I look back on and like amazing that we survived our childhood, because no helmets, no sense of what we were doing at all. We would just hit this dirt mound as fast as we could and go flying through the air, sometimes land. But I mean, we would always land, but sometimes we would land while still riding away. Most of the time, not. And we'd just come home dirty and bruised. But that was the thing, just going to the jump like every day. And even I remember to get to it, and it's probably my memory of this is probably so different to what it is today. You had to like ride your bike down this incredibly steep hill, which was like a feat of, you had to be like, not, I don't want to say brave, probably more stupid to do it than anything. But yeah, we would ride, just go flying down that hill, take your feet off the pedals. So you're just like, you're going to die at any second. But we amazingly survived. And then bikes evolved beyond the jump. Then I wish I could make the connection to understand how I found out about the world of like BMX and like freestyle bikes, because that's what kind of came next for me. Like it was just, trying to do tricks on the bikes.
Was it like movies, like Rad and like stuff like that?
It might have been, and Rad's a great one because I do love that much more than BMX Bandits. But I don't know, like, because I knew, like, you were naming players before. Like I knew Ron Wilkerson was he was in, I don't know what they called him, freestyler or something, and he was like my favorite. I loved him. I went to some event in the 80s and saw him on a half pipe with a bunch of these other guys. I was awful at all of that. I was so bad. And it's embarrassing because there was a guy I found out he was probably like, maybe he was like 3 to 5 years older than I was. This dude, Morgan Geist, who had a ramp, like a bike ramp in his driveway. And I was an annoying kid. I would ride from my house to his house and ring his doorbell to see if he was home and like, hey, can Morgan come play? Can we ride his ramp? And he'd always be like, oh, sorry, man, I can't. I got to go do a thing. Not realizing that he's like blowing me off every time. It wasn't until like decades later. Funny enough, he came into Flipside one day, the record store I was working at. I'm like, dude, I used to come over to your house all the time and bother you. And he had no recollection of it. So that made me feel great. But yeah, I somehow just like, because I think this is kind of like you with wrestling, where I don't recall having friends that were into biking. At this point, I don't even recall having friends, to be honest. But nobody I knew, like after the jump, that kind of faded. I didn't know anybody that would hang out and like hey, let's try and do bike tricks or anything like that. So yeah, maybe it was movies, something or other. I have no idea.
Magazines?
There was no.
Did you buy like the magazines?
Oh my gosh, yes. I was so into like whatever was it like BMX magazine or something? I was big on those, but I really don't know how it got started, like what kicked it off in my head. But that was me for a long time.
Well, I feel like that kind of transitions pretty nicely into skateboarding, which I wrote on our notes thing that's like the punk sport.
Yeah.
I have never been able to like there will never be wheels put on this thing ever.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's too beautiful to anyway.
That is not why there will never be wheels put on it. There will never be wheels put on it because I can't skateboard. I've never been able to. Like my dad had one of those like little skinny like 70s skateboards when I was a kid. Yeah. I couldn't do anything on that. Like, and again, skateboarding got really, really big. I would say probably when I was like in the 6th, 7th, 8th grade. Like, so that's like 87, 88 ish. Mm-hmm. Like everybody suddenly wanted to skateboard. And I was just not coordinated to enough to do it, and which surprises you not at all. I'm sure you know that my lack of coordination is legend.
I thought you would have been just like so smooth on that thing. No, but yeah, I've seen you try.
Yeah, it's just not something I've ever been able to do. But I do have an interesting story about skateboarding, which will be a nice transition to when we're talking about sports collecting. But I will yield the floor to you to tell me a little bit about how you got into skateboarding and the impact that it had on you, because I know it's profound.
It is. Yeah, I owe a lot to skateboarding. And, when we were talking about this episode, I was trying to think about where it happened. There was a point where, I was riding my bike. And then I made some new friends. I met this guy named James McGrory, who was kind of like my best friend for a while. And he had an older brother named George. And I rode my bike over the house one day, and they had a skateboard ramp. It was called a launch ramp. Basically, you would skate really fast, hit the ramp, and just go flying through the air. And I was like just blown away. I was too chicken to try to do it on my bike at that point because it was too big. But just watching them skate that ramp, I was like, so intrigued, and and so taken by that, I asked my parents to get me a skateboard for my birthday, and it was a Vision Gator with pink grip tape, like pink nose bone, tailbone. Like I basically bought everything that you should not get for a skateboard if you want to be taken seriously. But I didn't know anything, and I got made so much fun of for that skateboard. Everything was neon pink. It was like it was so decked out. But I didn't care. I loved that thing so much that I would come home from school and I would just skate in my driveway by myself, like just trying to get better and better and learn tricks so I can go kind of, go hang with those guys that were way better than I was at the time. Yeah, and that was it. And then from there, I started meeting more people in skateboarding, and that it definitely changed my life because, like you said, the punk sport. I found my music. I found bands like Descendants, Black Flag, and I felt like I was home. I felt like I was a person.
How quickly did you realize that skateboarding seemed to attract a different crop of people than you might see, again, like playing football or kickball or that sort of thing? Like, when did it become pretty obvious, like, this seems to be attracting a certain kind of person that I can mesh with?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure I wasn't super observant at the time, but like looking back, I could see that, like, I remember because in my school it was like the skaters, the metalheads, like the punks. We were all friends, and like there was one point where I don't know how I kind of like I wasn't paying attention, but then when I realized I was there, I was like, "Hey, this is where I belong, right? These are my people," and everybody was awesome. Like nobody was. I never had a problem with everybody. Everybody was so cool and like accepting. No one cared who you were. We were friends with a lot of different people in school who were not into that type of thing. Like we were friends with, Guidos, we called them at the time. I don't know if that's what people, but that was very like a New Jersey thing in that, the Z Cavaricis and everything. But we were so like, everybody was welcome in our group, even despite us not being welcome in every other group. And I just thought I was very fortunate to grow up like that. But I don't know. Did you notice this? Did you notice that those people were weird?
No, because the people who skated that I knew were mostly just the other kids in my neighborhood that were playing football prior to that. Okay. I didn't like, there were not a whole lot of punks really in my school. I went to a really small school in a really rural area. So when I was into hip hop, like no one really paid much attention to that other than like the stuff that like crossed over and was just like big MTV hits, which would happen every once in a while. And then, like, as far as punk goes, like, okay, eventually I started seeing people wear Green Day shirts, like my junior year or senior year. But, most of the people who were into like rock music, it was very grunge. Like it was all of that, like the Pearl Jam kind of stuff was the stuff that people were into. I didn't really, there was this one guy named Bob who had a Screeching Weasel t-shirt that I remember. I remember that in hindsight. At the time, I was listening to rap, and I had no idea what that even was. Yeah. I just knew that was some weird thing that I didn't understand. So in hindsight, there was one guy who was into like some of that kind of stuff. But it wasn't until me and some of my other friends just sort of like fell into like punk sort of by accident later in high school. Like we were the only people I knew who liked anything sort of like that. Yeah. So the people who skated, they weren't really punks or anything like that. They were just the kids in my neighborhood who I guess were sort of more coordinated than me, but none of them ever really did anything. And that kind of takes me to like this funny story, because one of the things that you wanted to talk a little bit about was like, building ramps and how it, at least the carpentry. One of the kids across the street from me, his name was Tom, and he wanted to build a half pipe or a quarter pipe or a third of a pipe or I don't know. Yeah. The Mr. Potato Head pipe, some sort of pipe. Yeah. He wanted the pipe. Maybe he just wanted to smoke. I don't know. So what I actually did was I got my grandfather to give me a piece of plywood. And then I traded that piece of plywood to Tom for all of his Star Wars toys.
Wow, that's a good piece of plywood.
So, and this was like early high school, because like, and but no one, like, I think I've told you, and I've said on the show before, I started collecting at a super, super, super young age, like really, really young. I went right from playing with toys to collecting toys. So this is actually, this wasn't high school. This was definitely grammar school. So this is probably like 1988, maybe 1989. and I traded him a single sheet of plywood, and I got a Slave One, I got a snow speeder, I got a pile of figures, like basically all of the Star Wars stuff that he had that he didn't want anymore.
And he
I
was
got
pretty
all of
psyched.
that, and
He was
that
probably
was
psyched on his plywood.
yeah. But you know what the funny thing is? He never built a ramp.
Oh, that sucks.
So, I gave him a single sheet of plywood, and then I guess he just never got anything after that. Actually, I feel like maybe they made like a little jumpy ramp out of it or something, but they definitely never built a half pipe like they wanted.
No, it is hard to do with a single sheet of plywood, but
it ties into my collecting journey. Like skateboarding did help fund my Star Wars collection, and like I think that for me, part of the reason why I liked any sports at all when I was a kid was like the collecting aspect of it. And I often wonder now as a grown-up, did I actually like the sports, or did I just like collecting things? And that was sort of the excuse I had to collect things. Like, especially like the big one for me at the beginning, it was trading cards. You know, I loved football cards. I even had some baseball cards, even though I didn't like baseball, just because they were around, they were a thing. But we used to go to the store called Bob's Collectables. And I used to buy like packs of cards there. And they also had, rare cards there. So I would sometimes like save up, taking out the garbage money and go like, all right, I've got $18. I can go buy Eric Dickerson's rookie card, because it was only like a 4-year-old card at that point. So I loved trading cards. Did you ever have any like sports trading cards?
I think back to like my brother and I are combined like Star Wars trading card collections, and there were baseball cards in there, but they were not mine. They were his. I think he played sports much longer than I did and probably paid much more attention to it. I never collected baseball cards, football cards, any real sporting memorabilia at all.
I loved trading cards. Hats. I collected hats when I was in high school. I loved more than just high school, grammar school and high school. I loved hats. I had a lot of non-sports hats. Like I loved those Toon hats that were around in the 90s. Like, I had like the Scooby-Doo one and like the Muttley one and stuff like that. But I had a bunch of sports team hats. Even like way after I stopped watching sports, I still liked a lot of those sports team hats. The other thing that I really loved was McDonald's would often do something wacky with sports. Like I had a full set of like the 1992 Dream Team Olympic basketball team collector cups, including the ones you had to mail away for.
Wow. You put in the extra effort for those.
When I worked there, they did a promotion with Upper Deck where they had basketball cards. And I remember just like getting as many of those basketball cards as I could. Like, I got the Shaquille O'Neal's rookie year. I got the Shaquille O'Neal McDonald's rookie card. But I loved that kind of stuff. But
you made me think of something. There's one thing I could think of that I had, and I don't know where they came from, but the little ice cream cup helmets. Like where did you get those? Because I had some of those.
You know where I got those? Ground Round. That's where I got those.
That must
but
be...
I think they had them at Friendly's too.
Okay.
I think they had them in lots of places, but I knew them from the Ground Round.
Yeah, I know I had a bunch of those like around the house. I think like some Mets ones and whatnot.
You just triggered a memory for me. You know what I had a ton of? Those little tiny football helmets that came out of the gumball machines that were in the supermarkets. I had a ton of those.
I think just a little, like they almost look like 1/12 scale, like helmets, the little plastic.
Yeah, they're just these tiny little helmets with these little clip-on face masks. I remember, oh man, I haven't thought about these in such a long time. I had a whole row of them on this one shelf in my room. Like I had them like facing off against each other and things like that.
Nice.
So I think there's a ton of those.
Those are still around too, because I think like last year for the Super Bowl, we ended up with a bunch, like somebody was handing them out. So look at that. They're still around today.
Yeah, so that's good. But the one thing that I never collected, and I don't really know anything about at all, you were talking about like tech decks or fingerboards or things like that. Yeah. I assume those are just like little miniature skateboards, right? I don't know anything about that.
So back in my day, like I'm an old man, so like not a lot of, the cool stuff didn't exist when we were kids, but there were fingerboards that you could get. They were, so a fingerboard is just a little skateboard for your fingers. There was one company that I know that made them, but what they were just clear plastic with like just a random picture in the middle. And it was meant to be a keychain, but we would always take the keychain off. We'd put grip tape on top of it. Sometimes we would open them up and put like our own designs in and seal them back. But those were like, nah. What we got crazy good at, and it's amazing that we did this. You know, your 3-ring binders, they would have that one divider page.
Yep.
So what we would do is we would take that out, we would cut it into strips, and then we would glue the strips together, and then we would cut out like a skateboard shape in it. And if you were really good, you can form like a concave shape. So it had like a raised nose and a raised tail. And then we would cut off the erasers from pencils, glue them to the bottom, and then take Matchbox car wheels. So we would build our own like fingerboards. And man, they were like the greatest things ever. I remember this must have been like junior high going into high school. I remember coming in and like you were so psyched to show off like the new one you just made. And I was terrible at making them. One thing we should talk about one day is how I went to school with amazing artists that went on to be professional artists in their lives. And I am the worst artist in the world. But I would be so proud of my skateboard, and they would come in with things that were like immaculate, that were just amazing. And we would trade, and you'd build little cardboard ramps, like cardboard half pipes and stuff. That was good times.
But I feel like in the 90s, I feel like they started becoming more mass produced. Like, again, I never collected them. I don't know anything about them, but I remember starting to see them at some point. And I remember my first thing is like, that's weird. You're going to do tricks with your fingers?
Yeah, again, and it's, if you go look up videos, people take it very seriously, and more power to them. They're doing insane things. We were just like, it was for us, it was like, we can't skate right now, so now we have these little like toys to play with. I didn't collect a lot of those, but there was a point where I started looking for skateboards that I loved and try to find the tech deck versions of it. Like, my favorite skater of all time is this guy named Matt Hensley, who went on to be a musician in the band Flogging Molly. And funny story, I was standing next to him at a Flogging Molly show, and I had no idea it was him. And that like kills me to this day that I didn't find out till later. They're like, "No, that was Matt Hensley." I'm like, "That was Matt Hensley?" I'm like, "How did I not know that?" But I have his deck. I think I have like some skateboard ones and some old Santa Cruz models. They're not a collection that I kind of prioritize at all. They're scattered around the house. And now Penny wants them. She's getting into like tech decks and stuff. So I'm like, fine, you can have all mine, except my Matt Hensley one, because that one's a keeper. But yeah, I don't remember them being as readily available as we were making our own, but yeah, once they came out, it was crazy because they had the tiny little wrenches to put on the wheels and fix the trucks. Yeah, that was amazing.
Well, I think like the kind of one of the last couple topics that we wanted to talk about is like, I want to talk a little bit about how we feel about sports today. But before we get there, I want to talk a little bit about sports video games, because I feel like those were, well, they still are a really big deal. But when video gaming was in its infancy, the rise of sports games is something that you kind of look at with bemusement, because some of those games were horrible, but some of them were excellent. What are some of the games that you played? And like, let's keep the skateboarding ones for the end. Like, what are some of the other sports games that you played?
So my first console was the Intellivision that I really, cut my teeth on. And you talk about horrible games. These were like, were they even 4-bit machines? I don't know what.
No bits. They were not giving out bits at the time.
But I would play Major League Baseball was one that my brother and I would play. And I distinctly remember it to this day because it had a synthesized voice for when you were out. It would just go like, yeah, like it couldn't really say it, but it would say like, I think it said it on the screen, so you knew what those sounds were. And I think we had some NFL, like an officially licensed NFL game, that if I didn't understand how football was played in real life, I had no shot in hell at understanding how to play it in this like bizarro game on the Intellivision. But those were two that I remember. I mean, we played a lot. I just didn't know how to play them at all.
All right, so before you get to Nintendo, my first system was a ColecoVision. I did not have any sports games for the ColecoVision at all. Zero. I ended up getting a Atari 2600 like way after the fact. I got like a cheap Atari 2600, which was the video game system I was allowed to keep in my room when I was like, in 6th, 7th grade or whatever. and I had a football game for that. And calling it football, you are really stretching the definition of football as to what this horrible, horrible game was. But I played it all the time.
Yeah.
Just because one, I liked football, and it was the only thing I had. I didn't have any. I did not have a football. I had a Nintendo at that point. I didn't have a football game for the Nintendo. I ended up with one for Game Boy. We'll talk about that in a second. But that was the first sports game I remember, was that really awful football game for the Atari 2600.
But you played it because we had a much higher threshold of pain back then. Like well, again, you didn't have a lot of games, right? So you just, if you had it, you were going to play the hell out of it. So.
But when we get to Nintendo, then we have a lot more sports games. And while I didn't have a ton of them, the one sports game that I've probably played more than any other, if you don't count Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, which I
don't know. Yeah.
Because that's probably the one I played the most. But if you don't count Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, if you don't count the pro wrestling game for Nintendo, I played Blades of Steel like crazy. I loved that stupid game. Me and my brother, and it was, because I think a lot of people, younger folks who maybe don't know the history of video games as much, there were so few games that you could play at the same time with someone back then. It was like, Alan, it's your turn, and then Tim,
and then
it's
hand
my
off
turn.
the controller. Yeah.
So like being able to play a game with my brother where we were both playing at the same time, that wasn't like an ultra common thing back then. So we played that game all the time. I loved Blades of Steel. It's on my emulator. I love that game still. And I could not care less about hockey. Blades of Steel rules.
Yeah, that one. There was Blades of Steel. There was Double Dribble. I remember those two. I remember them being like super popular. I never really played any of those. I guess I just I was, there was something about sports games that just completely had zero interest in, except Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, which was a sport. But I was searching for skateboarding games definitely at the time. And do you remember 720 in the arcade? Because that was
where the joystick was not straight up and down; it was on an angle, and it only went in a circle.
Because that was a great game, and I think they ported that to the NES, and that was terrible. Like, it just
I had that. I played that all the time though. Like I played that, and I played the first Skate or Die. I had both of those games, and I loved those. I loved those games. They
were great games. And then I think the first one I had was TNC Surf Wood and Water Rage, which you had gotten me a copy again for my birthday. Again, a terrible game that I just loved, and I played it so much. It had a surfing segment and a skateboarding, but it was more of like a obstacle course kind of skateboarding. It wasn't ramps or anything. But then Skate or Die, the first one came out. You had a half pipe. You could do tricks. I played that. I just like constantly played that. And then Skate or Die 2 was even better with the half pipe, which was just amazing. I never heard.
Can you? Okay, I have a very serious skateboarding question that I will ask you, the skateboarding expert.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I'm the expert, but ask me your question. I'm not afraid.
So there used to be a move called the McTwist. When did it stop being called the McTwist? I never hear anyone say McTwist anymore.
It's called the McTwist.
Is it?
Yeah. You can McTwist and shout.
You can still do McTwist. I thought they changed it to something else, because every once in a while, especially when they made skateboarding an Olympic sport, I watched it a little bit, and I didn't see anybody calling no McTwists out there. I saw people doing spinny things that looked like a McTwist, but they weren't McTwisting.
I'm pretty sure it's still there. Don't quote me on that one, but McTwist and shout. Wipe out all over the place, baby. Knee slide out. It's like some song from like a Powell Peralta video. Yeah, I think that one's still there. You couldn't do that in Skate or Die. I don't think you could. You had a very limited trick set there.
I did like the half pipe in Skate or Die, but my favorite thing was the weird downhill thing where you went through like the junkyard, and you would have to jump off your skateboard, and your skateboard would go over things. And you always do goofy foot, because for whatever reason, it's much easier to push the controller up to make you go down for whatever reason. But I love that little, I don't know if it was like a slalom or whatever it was called. But
I used to punch people, right? You can punch the other guys off their skateboards.
Yeah.
So bizarre, but
you got to punch Lester. Lester deserves to be punched.
Wasn't that his skate shop, or who was the guy who was the skate shop?
I thought Lester was the awful person. I
It
don't
might
remember.
I don't remember. I just
There was
remember the
definitely a Lester. I know that.
skate or die. Die.
So
Yeah. Those were great games though. And like I don't think it was until like Tony Hawk came out that we had another good skateboarding game, and that was like decades later.
yeah, I never really had another skateboarding game after that because like I never had a PlayStation and I didn't really get games like that for like, the GameCube or Nintendo 64 or any of that stuff.
Mm.
But what I had a few of was like those dedicated handheld sports games.
Oh, yep.
Like like again, I don't like baseball and I feel like I got it at a garage sale or something, or like maybe like my mom got like we used to go to auctions every once in a while, and sometimes my mom would bid on something and there would end up being like extra crap with it. And I remember getting one of those old Coleco baseball games that was shaped like
Baseball
like a little stadium thing.
Yep.
And it hid your thumbs in there so you could play it with someone else and they wouldn't see like what pitch you're throwing and stuff like that. So
Okay,
I remember playing that.
Yeah, I had one of those too. Like mine was just a bunch of red lights, only single player. And again, there wasn't mine. These were all my brothers, and I didn't know how to play them. But I would be like, it's cool, red lights.
But it was fun.
But no other sports games at all. Like that was it.
That was really it. Because like again, the older I got, you then have more control over the games in your collection, and I'm not buying sports games. Like I'm not spending my hard-earned money on that. So yeah. But I think we can wrap it up, and this is probably going to be a pretty short topic, is like, what about today? Like, what if any sports do you care about today? Because I do care about a sport. I do watch a sport, which I don't really get to watch it very often.
But you did just get to watch it recently, did you not?
I did, because I love curling. I love watching curling. I probably started watching it, I think, 12 or 16 years ago. I watched it in one of the Olympics and it was just like, yeah, I think was it 2010? It was whatever year that the Norway team started wearing the wacky pants. And I'm pretty sure that was the 2010 Olympics. And I just remember seeing pictures of it and just going, what is that? Like, wait, this is an Olympic sport? These guys with these goofy pants? And okay.
The pants, the brooms, the giant rock. Yeah.
So I started watching it mostly just because I thought it was funny. And then as I was paying attention to it and started kind of like learning a little bit about how it works, the skill, the rules, what they're trying to accomplish, the strategy of it, like I just became completely enthralled with it. And it bothers me that like I can only really watch it every 4 years if I want to like see a good presentation of it. If you want to watch some crummy thing on YouTube where there's just like one camera with no commentary pointing it, like there's that kind of stuff. But you have
standards. You like the high quality production.
I want commentary. I want multiple camera angles. I want to hear what the people are saying.
And you want controversy this year. You got controversy.
There was a little bit of controversy this year where a Canadian was cheating, dirty, filthy cheats, and then started swearing about it. So that's always a good time. Not impressed with the American team this year. Team Casper, who I've been such a big fan of John Schuster and Team Schuster. They've been the American representatives for all the other prior Olympics I'd watched, including winning the gold medal 8 years ago, which was awesome. But they did not beat Team Casper in the qualifiers to get into the Olympics. And Team Casper just they weren't doing it for me. I didn't feel like they were coming through in the clutch. And the other thing is those dudes like zero personality, zero charisma. So they're young. They got time to grow into it. I'm not losing faith in them, but I really wish that Team Schuster had been our Olympic representatives this year, because that's a team I can get behind. They're a bunch of cool dudes.
Spoken like a true athletic supporter there. So
very much so. But I love curling. They're starting up like a professional curling league.
Why did you do that? What was the air quotes for the professional?
I don't know how one qualifies being a professional versus an amateur curler. Like there's not really there's not a delineation between those things right now. So if this is the first time they're trying to do it, I'm going to use those air quotes, because until it happens and becomes a permanent thing, I don't think you can call it a professional sport yet. But it's called like Rock League or something like that. And I think in a few months they're starting up, and I don't quite understand how they're going to do it. But if I can watch it and it's good, I'll be very happy if there's like, year round or at least seasonal curling on every year.
Oh, well, I hope so. Keep us posted on that one.
It's good stuff. But what about you? I do like you. I watch the Super Bowl every year just because it's an event.
Yeah, it is an event. And as cliche it is, I am there for the trailers or whatever whatever commercials they're going to show. Though this year I don't recall a single commercial being at all amusing, but
no.
But I still to this day watch skateboarding. Like I'll watch skateboarding competitions. I mean, it's like you said, it's in the Olympics. It's crazy how big it's gotten, and it is almost like a completely different sport than when I was into skateboarding, when I was skating myself, because the things people are doing today, like I mentioned Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and I feel like that's what kind of got me out of skateboarding for real, was I was just playing this video game where you could just do anything. You can do a McTwist. You could do like all these crazy tricks that were just not feasible in real life. And nowadays, people are doing those tricks that we were doing in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater that we never thought possible. I mean, I saw this trick today. This guy did like, I don't know, it was like a 360 kickflip to an ollie north. So what that means is the skateboard spins around here. I don't have a skateboard handy, but yeah, here's a skateboard. So the skateboard spins around and flips over as it does. And this guy catches it with his feet and then kicks one foot off and lands. But like, it's just the amount of coordination and control it takes to do that is unbelievable. And that's not even the tip. That's just the tip of the iceberg of what people are doing today. It's very technical. So,
and I can't even get from one end of the driveway to the other without having to jump off of it, fearing for my life.
Yes. So there are like we talked about curling, amateur and professional, you and skateboarding, like, but I do still ride a longboard, like, spring and summer when it's nice, just go out with the kids and just cruise around. I am not doing any tricks because I don't want to end up in the ER. I know I'm at that point where I'm foolish and I think my mind thinks I could still do these things, but my body knows better. It's like, no, you try and do that. I'm going to take you down so fast.
Mind strong, body weak.
It's so funny. I'm in this Facebook group called like Skaters Over 50. And it is the best thing ever because it'll be like, hey, I turned 52 today, just got my brand new board. The next day, it's a picture of him in a cast. And it like, with the x-rays, and it happens to everybody in that group. Like we all think we could do it. You think you could do these things, but you just can't. So.
Hey, I have a question for you. I need a professional skateboarders thing. So what does that mean?
That is the width of your skateboard. So that is
Did I pick a good width? Is this a good width?
I really don't even know anymore. It's very much a personal preference. But what that'll tell you is what width trucks to get. So there's different widths, if you were going to mount wheels and trucks on it, but you are not. So I think 8.5 is probably good. As an old man, I'd probably go as wide as I could these days, but you're not going to ride it. If you were going to do that, it might be too narrow for you. I'm not sure.
I didn't even know there were such things as skateboard widths. I just picked the one that was there. I didn't realize I had options of other sizes.
Probably not. Like a board like that is probably only going to come in one size. One size fits all.
Gotcha. Okay.
But you can, like, there'll be other, again, I would look, if I'm looking for a new skateboard, I'm looking for size more than anything. And then once I see the ones that are available in that size, that's what I'm going to go with. But I want ones with, like, I'll look at the nose and the tail, make sure they're good. But a lot of them start to end up being the same anyway. There's just this basic popsicle shape. So
gotcha. Yeah. Well, all right. Hey, for someone who was doubtful of our ability to do a conversation about sports, we've been talking for almost an hour and a half about,
and we could probably still keep going on this because this is super amusing. Yeah,
this is a good idea.
I'm impressed. Right? That was a good idea. I like this. These are good deep dives into areas that we rarely ever talk about. So Amusing stuff, to say the least.
So I think this is probably as good a time to wrap it up as any, unless you really want to talk about the 1989 Rams season and like how, or the 1987 Eric Dickerson trade to the Colts, which was really traumatic for me as a kid. And it was also a very convoluted trade that I didn't quite understand what the Rams even got for that. So it seemed like a waste. But
I think I'm good. I think that's all I needed to know.
Then I think we can wrap everything up. I hope everybody has a lovely week. Please enjoy all of the sports that you want.
Yes, each their own sportiness.
Next week, we already have our topic for next week already, so come join us because we're going to ZoloCon this weekend, provided that there's no weather limitations, but it doesn't seem like there's going to be. So we're going to ZoloCon.
Sunny. Yep, sunny on Saturday. I'm excited. There's things, I think I was telling you that I'm getting some offers on eBay for some items, but I'm holding off on everything, and I'm hoping to find some in person at the show.
If you're going to ZoloCon, so are we. Come say hi. Otherwise, we'll be back here next week. We'll talk a little bit about our experience when we go do something, and hope everybody has a good time in the meantime.
Yep. Thanks for hanging out. Is there a sporting send-off? Like, what do you say? Like, what's sporty? Go team.
Fight.
Perfectly excellent.